Orion is a steel roller coaster made by Bolliger and Mabillard, located at Kings Island in Mason, Ohio. The ride is themed to a space expedition where you board a simulator vehicle and travel to a new planet within the Orion constellation. This is because Earth is going through an oncoming meteor storm that will only continue within the coming generations, leaving the test subject, aka this ride, as humanity's only hope. It's kind of a corny theme, but we've seen storylines like this a lot with many of the newer Legacy CFR coaster installations, including Mystic Timbers and Banshee in the same park. Plus, Adventure Express received theming updates similar to what Orion and Flight of Fear currently have. For years, people have been wanting Kings On to get a Giga coaster to the point where rumors eventually started swirling about them building one in the future. It just made sense that Kings On would be the next park to receive a Giga after Fury 325 at Carowinds opened to the public. Mystic Timbers was announced back in 2016, and coaster enthusiasts were not impressed with the park adding another wooden roller coaster, all because they wanted a Giga. Even though it gained a great reputation after it opened the following year, people still wanted that Giga. After Mystic Timbers opened, they started removing attractions located alongside the Racer and Flight of Fear, which led to some upset that a ride like Firehawk was on the chopping block, but for others, it just added more excitement for the park's future edition. Some even believed that the Giga was finally happening. In the beginning of the 2019 season, the names Orion and Polaris were trademarked to keep coaster enthusiasts guessing between the two, and on August 15th of that year, Orion was announced, with mixed opinions. Although everyone was excited that Kings Island was finally getting the coaster they've been asking for, it wasn't what everyone expected. Coaster enthusiasts specifically were not impressed with the ride's stats. Some of them even called it not a Giga since its lift hill is 287 feet tall, but they completely ignored the fact that the drop itself is 300 feet, which makes Orion a Giga coaster. The backlash it receives seems a little hypocritical to some since we have coasters like Phantom's Revenge at Kennywood, which has a lift hill height of 160 feet, but a maximum drop height of 228 feet, or the original hypercoaster Magnum XL 200 at Cedar Point, which is 205 feet tall, but has a 195-foot drop. People never criticize those rides for their stats, yet they make fun of Orion for not being taller than it could be. I personally call Orion a Giga because the lift hill structure looks the same as a ride like Fury 325, plus they already have a hypercoaster in Diamondback. After the removal of another coaster, that being Vortex, which they still haven't replaced yet, plus the opening date of Orion being postponed due to a worldwide shutdown, the coaster opened to the public with limited capacity but a more positive reception, not just regarding the ride itself, but also the surrounding area. The former Cedar Fair Entertainment Company, along with Kings On, really went all out into sprucing up one of the more mediocre sections of the park, giving it some new space theming like updated buildings, special props including a crashed meteor and radio tower. They even hired Imascore, the company that composed Mystic Timbers' soundtrack, to make one for the area as well, and it's beautifully composed. All of these aspects transition the area from X-Base to Area 72. The area and soundtrack are almost better than the ride itself, but I still love it for what it has to offer. Even though Dimeback may have a better layout that consists of stronger airtime, Orion has a relatively decent layout with some dud elements like the wave turn and turnaround, but also some really powerful moments like the first drop, that speed hill after the large turnaround, the Orion's belt helix that pull some good positives, and the last two elements before the tall and long brake run provide some strong flowjector airtime. Orion went through a lot from rumors of its installation to its grand opening, and honestly, the outcome and wait were worth it. I'd say it earns a 9 out of 10. This coaster is a well-deserved addition to Kings On's lineup, especially after the removal of Vortex. Now that coaster's been gone for over 5 years, Orion's the most visually appealing roller coaster at Kings Island, with a gorgeous blue and light gray color scheme that both blends in and contrasts with the sky. It's a lot more visible in the park's skyline than Firehawk ever was, and it's got its own unique layout with a variety of large elements, some of which give me flashbacks to Fury 325, which I first rode back in 2017. That shows how good the journey actually is. It may not be the perfect coaster we've been wanting for years, in fact I think it's kinda overrated. My only complaints are that the ride isn't glossy smooth, as it does have a small rattle. And by small I mean I find it to be the smoothest of the Kings On B&M coasters. It doesn't give me a headache. It also doesn't have the best layout for a Giga coaster, especially one for a top tier park like Kings Island. If I had the opportunity to redesign the layout for Orion, I'd keep the stronger elements like the smaller airtime hills and helix, and then replace the two larger elements with something more rapid fire like what Fury 325 has, plus maybe some low to the ground moments. If Orion had that style of a layout, it could potentially become my favorite coaster in the park, beating out Mystic Timbers, because right now it's my number 3 coaster in the park with Diamondback just above it. I would also like to point out a couple of things that aren't really complaints, but more so just design features. First of all, the coaster's lift hill is dead silent, probably the quietest lift hill ever. Most roller coasters have this iconic click-clack sound as it climbs up the lift, which is the chain dog repeatedly hitting the anti-rollbacks until it detaches from the lift. Orion doesn't feature that aside from attaching to and detaching from the lift hill. Also, this ride, as well as several other roller coasters at this park, have a lift hill that faces the same direction, which is kinda weird. It's a cool sight though, having them all be parallel to each other, and they provide fantastic views of the neighborhoods and forestry, especially Orion because it's the tallest coaster at Kings Island. I'm not exactly sure why they were designed this way, but again, it isn't a complaint, just an observation, because they really made the most out of this expensive project, and I highly recommend you volunteer for the expedition and travel on a journey to the Orion constellation to find planet KI 72429 OH.